What's going on, guys? It's Cal here from Buffalo SportsCenter, and I know what you're saying. Cal on a regular season game? It makes no sense to me. Well, this week we're rolling with it because Don is unfortunately unable to make this video. So it's not a preseason game, it's a regular season game. I'm doing the preview for it. Get used to it. Here we go. Bills at Chiefs. Huge game in the AFC. The Bills got to win this one, right? And the Chiefs, they almost kind of got to win this one too because the AFC standings, they're getting tight. So this game is this Sunday, 4:25 window. You got Jim Nantz, Tony Romo on the call. It's going to be the game of the week on CBS. This game has huge playoff implications. I mean, the Chiefs need to win this game to stay that one seed. The Ravens, on the other hand, they had a great bye week. Everyone they needed to lose lost. The Jaguars, they lose to the Bengals. So, they should be safe from them. But all of a sudden, the Colts and the Texans are right behind them. If they take the lead for that division, the Chiefs could end up being a 3 or 4 seed this year in the playoffs. We'll see what happens this week, but let's start with talking about the Chiefs here. Last week, like I mentioned, they came off a loss, Sunday Night Football loss to the Green Bay Packers. And let's talk about the refereeing in this game. I mean, this game was as poorly officiated as it gets. The refs have been bad in almost every single game this season in the NFL. And I hate to harp on refereeing. I know, every team deals with it at some point. But as a Bills fan, it really hasn't helped us at all either. And this has got to be one of the worst officiated seasons of all time in the NFL. And I think people are finally starting to realize that, these games may, swing one way or another based on one or two big calls in certain areas of the game. I know a lot of people, they tend to think bad refereeing equals the NFL, talking to these sports books, money's involved. I'm not saying that's not the case, but, you find it hard to believe that some of these games are entirely rigged. It just sucks to see that the refs are not calling their own rules, and it's really reminding me of NHL right now, the level of the officiating. But back to the game here, let's talk about Mahomes this year. Mahomes is still having a good year, right? But his receivers have been letting him down game after game after game. I mean, we could go back and look at their first game of the season against the Detroit Lions, and that game's basically been a repeat of every single Chiefs game. Receivers have been killing them. If they could catch the ball, Mahomes would be putting up MVP numbers, but they're not. And, they're running wrong routes. Mahomes is kind of getting a little sick of them. But overall, all is good in Kansas City, right? They're still first in the division. They're still feeling good. And they still have Travis Kelce. Now, all the Taylor Swift jokes aside, Travis Kelce is still having a pretty monster year for the Kansas City Chiefs. Still one of the best tight ends in the league. Although it does seem like he is a little distracted, right? He's not putting up the same numbers he did last season, and he struggled a little bit at times, and I think teams are really starting to take advantage of the fact that the Chiefs really only have him as a receiver. Everyone else is struggling. So if teams can double team, even triple team Travis Kelce in certain areas, the Chiefs struggle to move the ball. The one good news for the Chiefs, though, is they have Isaiah Pacheco as their running back, and he has been solid this year. I mean, whenever they need a goal line touchdown, they usually pitch it to him, find a way to get him in. He's had a couple big runs this year, and he's been a saving grace for this otherwise porous offense, considering their wide receiver room has just not lived up to the hype. L'Jarius Sneed on defense. He leads their defense in interceptions. He's got 2 picks this year, but the defense has been pretty solid for the Kansas City Chiefs. You look a couple of years ago, and it was mainly just the Chiefs had to outscore their opponents, right? Their defense wasn't that great, but their offense could score 30 points, 40 points every single game, so it didn't matter. This year, it's kind of been the opposite. The Chiefs' offense has struggled in some big games, but their defense has bailed them out, or at least kept them in it. Chris Jones is having a monster year. We didn't know it was going to happen with Chris Jones in the beginning of the year, right? Like, he sat out. He's waiting for that big payday. Eventually, he does return to the lineup. He leads the team in sacks, 7.5 this year. And, he's still the same player he once was, so if the Bills want to stop him, I think that'd be a great starting point to score some points on this Chiefs defense. But the Chiefs defense has been pretty solid, and I think the Bills are going to struggle a little bit with it. But now let's switch over and talk about the Bills. So like I said in the beginning, the Bills pretty much need to win out to make the playoffs. They could probably lose one more game and sneak in as that last seed in the AFC, but that's no sure thing the way this AFC playoff picture is looking. So I think the Bills pretty much have to win out. Very possible, only 5 games left. And the way they looked last week, the offense might be back. Joe Brady scheming up some great plays, trusting Josh Allen, something that Ken Dorsey refused to do. It looks like Joe Brady, and Josh Allen, they trust each other, and Josh Allen was slinging the ball in the downpouring rain against the Eagles. The Eagles are one of the best teams in the league. I know they looked bad against the 49ers last weekend. It doesn't matter, though. Against that Eagles defense, that's a tough task, and Joe Brady put all of his confidence into Josh Allen, which needs to happen. Allen's having an MVP-like season, minus the losses, right? He's not going to win the MVP, obviously, at a record of 6-6, and who knows what's to come from here. He's had a lot of interceptions, too, a lot of dumb moves. Again, that Week 1 game against the Jets, I pretty much entirely put on him for the loss. But other than that, he's been very good this year. And against the Eagles, you saw that MVP caliber Josh Allen doing it all himself, taking the ball himself, chucking it downfield, and when he had to, taking off with his feet. And that's something he hasn't done all season long. So it's great to see Joe Brady scheming up some plays for Allen to run it on the ground. Let's talk about the Bills' defense now. The defense has kept it together when this offense has been porous, but now they're kind of letting it slip away, right? That Eagles game, they couldn't get the stop when they needed. You look at the Patriots game earlier, the defense couldn't get the stop they needed. Really, the only game they did get that big stop was against the Giants, and that very well could have been a pass interference on that last play on Taron Johnson. So the defense, as well as they've played this year, they haven't got the stop when they needed it, and that's what good teams do, right? Good teams can get those stops at the end of games, and I don't know whether to blame the players on the field or the coaching staff. We know Sean McDermott runs this defense, and he tends to play very soft coverage, kind of bend but don't break, but at the end of the game, you kind of got to go for the win there. And, he just kind of backs it off and slowly lets that defense bleed out instead of just going for it. It's something that needs to change with the Bills. I think we've seen it time and time again, especially in the playoffs. You look at that Denver Broncos game where you pretty much had them at midfield and then you let them throw just a bomb, about a 30, 40-yard pass there, ends up getting the game-winning field goal. And to talk about coaching, back to that game, I mean, special teams have been atrocious. Sam Martin has not been a great punter this year either, so the Bills are really struggling. But McDermott is 6-0 after bye weeks. And, some people may look at that stat and say, oh, it's just luck, whatever. That shows you something, though. 6 wins after bye weeks, no losses. So, Sean McDermott could definitely get his team going after the bye week. We'll see if he can make that 7-0 this week. I don't know, though. Let's look at the Bills' tight end situation. Dalton Kincaid, rookie out of Utah. He has been absolutely amazing this year. Not Sam Laporta good, but he's pretty darn close. And I think the big thing was, they weren't really throwing to him the first couple weeks of the season. Now that they've consistently been trusting him, I think his numbers continue to skyrocket. I could see a couple more touchdowns this season, and he's pretty much the number 2 receiver on this offense besides Diggs. Dawson Knox may be coming back. Probably not this week, but maybe the week after. He recently got engaged, so congrats to him. But, he's been out a couple weeks with that injury, but he should be coming back soon. Before that injury, he was not having a good year, dropping some key balls. But maybe that surgery was what he needed to get back to full health. We'll see what happens with him. You got a lot of money invested in him, so you can't give up on him. I just hate running 12 personnel, 2 tight ends out there. We'll see what happens. The Bills' running back situation is a tricky situation. You sign Leonard Fournette to the practice squad. Everyone thinks he's going to make his debut, at least last week, maybe the week before. Does not happen. All of a sudden, Joe Brady calls up Ty Johnson from the practice squad, and he has looked fantastic. I mean, every time he touches the ball, it's 5, 6, 10 yards. So I think, there's no reason to switch that up. Keep Ty Johnson in. And then you got Cook. Cook, he's been pretty solid. Obviously, the Bills' leading back this year. He's the number 1. He's been getting the big plays. But he hasn't been too great, right? And I know a lot of it has to do with, their schematic runs, that stupid draw play they do up the middle. You can't run Cook right up the middle into a bunch. It's not going to work. He just gets, he gets pummeled for 1 or 2 yards. It's not going to work with any running back, right? I mean, that was pretty much what Ken Dorsey was doing. Joe Brady seemed to switch it up a little bit on the run game, and Cook, he's elusive. When he's in open space, he is shifty, so we'll see what he could do. And then Latavius Murray, someone who we really didn't see, as a guy on this team before the year. All of a sudden, he's been playing every game. And I know Damian Harris's injury has played into that, but even before that, Latavius Murray beat him out to be the running back number 2. Now I think we see Latavius maybe slide to that number 3 spot, still coming in for those 3rd and 2 runs, but Ty Johnson has shown me enough to make him the running back number 2. I highly doubt we see Fournette, but if we do, I would have to guess it would be in substitution of Latavius Murray. I don't think you could take Ty Johnson out. Lastly, the wide receivers. Gabe Davis played very good against the Eagles. I can't believe it, right? It was in the rain. Gabe Davis struggles at catching the ball. That's his main thing, right? He caught almost every ball. I think he had 1 drop. Unfortunately, that last play of the Bills' offense, He decided to go the wrong way. That was an easy read. Allen had him to the inside. He blew the route. Very unfortunate because up until that point, he was having one of his classic games, the Gabe Davis Classic with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call. Gabe Davis is in a contract year, and I don't know what's going to happen with him in the offseason. There's a good chance he signs cheap somewhere. Maybe the Bills bring him back. I don't know. But so far this season, he's been a huge disappointment. But I think that Eagles game overall was a huge uptick, and hopefully we see that version of Gabe Davis going forward. And the team knows that they have to win this game, right? I think the Chiefs are pressured. They're coming off a loss. They're going to be hungry. They know seeding-wise they need the game, but the Bills need the game to, keep their playoff hopes alive. So I think the Bills will be a little more hungry here, but it's going to be tough going into Arrowhead. So before I end this video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, check out our Instagram, join our Discord, and I've always wanted to do this, so here we go. Let's check out what our BSC panel has for this Bills versus Chiefs game.
This is huge for the end of the season, I'm telling you.
Here comes Allen, looking long, throws to the end zone, and the ball is caught! Of all people, it's Dawson Knox! Oh, what a time for Dawson Knox. The light shines on those